Think you know all the rules for flying? Think again. Airlines have quietly rolled out a new playbook, and what you don't know could get you denied at the gate. From the exact moment you need to be checked in to the type of ID you need, the rules have changed. In this video, we're breaking down the surprising new policies you absolutely have to know before your next flight. For years, we've all followed the same basic airport script. Show up a couple of hours early, pack light, and have your passport ready. But the travel landscape of 2025 is a whole different ballgame. Behind the scenes, airlines and governments have been rewriting the rules, introducing changes that are already tripping up even seasoned flyers. And these aren't just tiny tweaks. We're talking about major policy shifts that impact how you book, what you pack, and even the documents you need to get past security. The consequences are real. Missed flights, surprise fees that can cost you hundreds, and in a worst-case scenario, being turned away at the gate with your vacation ending before it even starts. Our goal is to make sure that doesn't happen. We're going to walk through the biggest changes step by step so you can fly with total confidence. Let's get into it. The first, and maybe the most important set of changes, is all about your identity and your permission to fly. Get this wrong, and your trip is over before it begins. First up for U.S. travelers, the final no more extensions deadline for Real ID is here. Starting May 7th, 2025, every passenger 18 and older on a domestic flight has to show a Real ID compliant document. The government has kicked this can down the road for years, but the enforcement date is now set in stone. So what does this mean for you? Pull out your driver's license right now. Look for a little star in the top corner. If you see that star, you're good to go. If not, your license won't work for domestic flights after the deadline. You can use a valid U.S. passport or another federally approved ID instead, but that old license will leave you grounded. Don't wait until the last minute for this one. DMVs are expecting a massive rush. Next, for international travel, just showing up with a passport isn't enough anymore for two huge destinations. If you're flying to the United Kingdom as of January 8, 2025, travelers from the US, Canada, and dozens of other countries now need an electronic travel authorization or ETA before you fly. This isn't a visa, but it is a mandatory online pre-screening. It costs about £10, around $13, and is valid for 2 years. But here's the kicker. Airlines are now required to verify you have an ETA before you board. If you get to the airport without it, they will deny you boarding. It's that simple. The European Union is also rolling out its new Entry-Exit System, or EES, starting in October 2025. This is a big one. The EES is a digital system that replaces manual passport stamping by recording your biometric data, your fingerprints, and a facial scan when you enter and leave the 29 countries in the Schengen area. While it's meant to speed things up eventually, during the initial rollout, you'll need to register your data at a kiosk or counter on your first visit. This system is mandatory for non-EU travelers and will automatically track your 90-day stay limit. Forgetting this won't just cause delays. Overstaying will be digitally flagged, which could create major problems for future trips. The next big shift is happening inside the airport terminal, where your timing is more crucial than ever, and new tech is changing the security process. Let's talk about check-in deadlines. These are no longer just friendly suggestions, they are hard cutoffs. United Airlines is leading the charge with a strict new policy. All passengers on domestic flights must be checked in at least 45 minutes before departure, and it doesn't matter if you have bags to check or not. If you show up to the counter 44 minutes before your flight, the system literally will not let the agent issue a boarding pass. The days of the last-second sprint to the gate are over. The solution? Check in on the airline's app up to 24 hours ahead and get to the airport assuming every line is going to be longer than you think. Part of the reason for these tighter timelines is the rollout of new technology in the security line. The TSA is expanding its use of AI-powered scanners and facial recognition systems. This includes new CT scanners that let you keep electronics and liquids in your bag, but it also means more automated ID checks where your face becomes your boarding pass. While the goal is to speed things up, the transition means you could face a mix of old and new procedures, so just be ready for anything. For a lot of travelers, 2025 is the year baggage fees got even more complicated. In a landmark change, the era of bags fly free on Southwest Airlines has officially come to an end for most travelers. For reservations made on or after May 28, 2025, Southwest now charges fees for checked bags for most of its fare types, falling in line with its competitors. Other airlines, meanwhile, are continuing to hike their prices. American Airlines now charges $40 for the first checked bag on a domestic flight, or $35 if you pay online ahead of time. And on some international routes, the fees are climbing even higher. Air Canada, for example, may charge up to $75 for a first bag on certain basic economy fares to Asia. The lesson here is to always check the baggage fee calculator for your specific route and airline before you buy your ticket. But there is a silver lining in the world of baggage. Thanks to new consumer protection rules, airlines are finally on the hook for major delays. If your checked bag is delayed by more than 12 hours on a domestic flight, you are now entitled to a full refund of any fee you paid to check it. For international flights, that window is between 15 and 30 hours, depending on the flight's length. It's a small victory, but it's a critical new right you should definitely know about. If you're finding these updates useful, and maybe just a little bit shocking, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. The rules are changing faster than ever, and our goal here is to keep you ahead of the curve so you can always travel smart. The rules for specific types of travelers have also seen some big updates. Some of them are great news, and others are more of a cautionary tale. Let's start with a huge win for families. The Department of Transportation has proposed a new rule that would officially require airlines to seat children 13 and under next to an accompanying adult for free. This new rule means that if adjacent seats are available when you book, the airline would have to put you together without hitting you with a seat selection fee. Even if there's a last-minute aircraft swap, they would still be required to seat you together at no extra charge. This finally puts an end to the stress of parents having to pay more or beg strangers to switch seats just to sit next to their own kids. Now, for a strange experiment that thankfully seems to be over, but is worth being aware of. Earlier in 2025, a few airlines were caught testing out a solo traveler fee. This sneaky charge meant that if you searched for a single ticket, the price was sometimes higher than the per-person price if you searched for 2 or more people. After a public outcry, this practice was mostly stopped on domestic routes, but it's a powerful reminder to always be on your toes. When you're booking a flight, it might be worth comparing the price for one traveler versus 2, just to make sure you're not being quietly penalized for flying alone. Finally, let's talk about what's changing once you're on the plane and the new rights you have as a passenger. Airlines are getting stricter than ever about carry-on bag weight. Don't be surprised if you see scales at the gate. If your bag is over the limit, you could be forced to check it for a hefty last-minute fee. At the same time, in a sign of growing impatience with rule breakers, you should know that on some international carriers, authorities can issue on-the-spot fines to passengers who stand up before the seatbelt sign is turned off. That mad dash to grab your bag the second the plane stops could now come with a real penalty. On the bright side, passenger rights have been beefed up in a couple of key areas. First, new Department of Transportation rules have strengthened your right to get help when your flight is canceled or significantly delayed. Airlines must now provide prompt, automatic cash refunds for these disruptions, ending the days of having to fight for travel credits. So, what does all of this mean? The main takeaway for 2025 is that you can no longer fly on autopilot. The game has truly changed. Travel is getting more digital, more regulated, and let's be honest, a little more complicated. The 3 most important things to remember are these. First, check your travel documents weeks or even months ahead of time. Look for that real ID star. And don't forget the new digital entry permits for the UK and EU. Second, read the fine print before you book, especially with the end of Southwest's free bag policy and those strict check-in deadlines. And third, know your new rights. You are entitled to sit with your young kids for free, and you have a right to automatic cash refunds when things go wrong. Being prepared isn't about being paranoid, it's about being empowered. A 5-minute check of the rules can be the difference between a smooth, stress-free vacation and a trip that gets ruined by a surprise you never saw coming. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these new rules surprised you the most? Have you run into any of these changes firsthand? Drop a comment below and share your story with our community of travelers. Your experience could help someone else avoid a massive headache.